So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream recorded for Ustream.tv and hopefully recorded for YouTube. This is the third attempt, so we'll keep trying. So in my Derwent art bag I have my watercolour crayons. Now these are the Derwent art bars, which are no longer available, but you can still buy them on eBay, or you can still buy them, but they're not producing new ones. That's what I meant to say. I think there's some sets on eBay you can still buy, but because it's a crayon I also have my Neos, and I love the fact that I can put them beside me. So I can get rid of this, which hangs up quite nicely. You can either leave them in or you can put them here. So this means that I've got, and I normally have them like this, I've got yellows, oranges, reds, and then I have my purples, blues and greens, and then if you flick them over I then have my greens and yellows and flesh tones and my browns and greys. And they're very well protected. You can use them, you can leave them there and just touch the colour, so you don't have to take them out. But the other advantage is, and you can see if I show you this one, so this was brand new, that's how much I've used, and that one is English Red number 63. And English Red number 63 is that one. So that is scribbled a good couple of layers of colour, and the crayon is hardly touched. So don't think you have to scrub it to infinity, because you don't. But what it means is that in my little book here I can have my flesh tones and ochres, and I put these here on purpose because I wanted them separate. I've got light greys and dark greys with the plastic between. You've got to have the plastic. Now originally I used greaseproof paper, so you can cut some greaseproof paper or tracing paper, but if you've got plastic you can see all the greys all at once. You can see all the yellows, the bright cold yellows and the yellowy oranges with the plastic between. You can see the reddy reds and the pinky reds. So I can see all my colour range of reds. The same with the pinks. I've got pinks there, purpley pinks, and then I've got my purples. I've got turquoises there. I've got unusual, strange greens, unnatural greens I would call them, the jades and the lemons. But then I've got my greens, my dark greens, and my medium greens, and then I've got my turquoises, and then I've got a couple of greens, my purpley blues and my cold blues. So that's the cobalt blues, the Prussian blues. I've got my warm browns, and I've got my cold browns, cool browns, and I've got my warm browns. But I can see all the colours I want. I've also got a colour swatch. So that means for every colour square I have, I've got 10 shades. There's the olives. I put those together. And then I have an old, I've just acquired, but whoopsie, they may not be available, which you're very lucky. I found some Neo Arts, and I found a box full of them. Now the Neo Arts, mine are about 20 odd years old, and the set I had, when I'd gone through them, there were 12 that I didn't have as a Neo. Now some of them they don't make anymore, but I did like them. So there's an ice blue, azurite. So if I'd have had this set when I made this book last week, I would have put them in the right places. but as it happens, I've got them in here. So there's a flesh pink, there's a gold and silver, and then I scratched here a layer of silver, and then I put a layer of gold over the top. So I've kind of got a dull grey and I've got a warm silver. It's in between because it's half and half, and it works quite well. So you could do that with all these to make hundreds more colours if you wanted. So you don't have to have the full set. And I would not have bought these if I'd have seen these first, because I do like the chunky ones, I have to say. There's a very slight difference. These are creamier. They obviously changed the binder to make them creamier, but I do like the thicker ones personally to use as a crayon. So I've got them in here, and if you scratch them on paper or they will actually scratch on plastic, and they'll scratch, I think, on a metal tray. White's better because you can see the true colour, because you normally work on white paper. If you always work on black paper or on dark tones, you want a dark palette because your colours will be different. So always remember that. The one thing I will say about the white in here, and I don't think I put it in, this white is very, very good in the Neo Art one for working on black paper. It's better than gouache, it's better than anything. It's very, very good. And in one of the videos I do show that one of my daughters was doodling with it on her black sketchbook. So I love the fact that I can look here, and I use this book as a reference as well as my 21st century travel book with thousands of shades in there. So what I can do is I can look here and decide what I want, and then I can look at the colour and I can find it. Because if you look at the end here, sometimes you can't always see what there is, and sometimes you might not want that strong purple. So if you look at this one, for instance, this is number 99, Aubergine. I'm not sure where Aubergine is. There it is. So if you look at this, that's Aubergine. I have a white piece of paper. That's Aubergine. And it's a dull purpley brown. But if you look there, you can see there's some beautiful soft purpley pink, pale purples, which is sometimes a lot nicer than using traditional pale purples. So this gives you a colour range that if you use this crayon but quite well watered down, you're going to get these gorgeous soft pastel colours. Whereas if you're using it straight from the crayon, it's going to be full on. So there's two ways you can use these watercolour crayons. Well, there's many. You can melt them, you can do all sorts of things. If you look on YouTube, lots of people have done lots of things. So I'm going to use them two different ways today. In the first video, I'm going to do the grunge. So part one will be using complementary colours. So I'll be picking a red, and I'll be picking a green, and then I'll be grunging them up and using the crayon directly onto the page. The other way, I will be using them as a watercolour effect. So I may even either use a damp rigger. I don't have any water, do I? Yes, I do. A damp rigger. And I'll either touch a little bit of colour in here, or I'll use a touch of colour from here and manipulate it, so that I have a watercolour effect with hardly any water, so there's no crinkle and there's no mess. I normally use a tablespoon of water when I work this way, and a baby wipe, and you find that every scrap of colour you take from your crayon ends up on your page. It doesn't end up in a water pot, because you take the colour to nothing, so there's nothing left on the paintbrush. Then you damp the paintbrush, you get more colour. You put the colour on the page until it's pale. There's nothing left on the paintbrush. So every scrap of colour you take from your crayon or your palette ends up on the page. It doesn't end up in a water pot. And as a tight Yorkshire lass, I like that. I don't waste any colour. No, hardly any colour ever goes down the drain. And it's also a good way to work because you can work on the train, on a plane, you can work in a car, anywhere. And all you've got is a tablespoon of water. And you can even just use a damp baby wipe and it will keep you going for a full page, just using a baby wipe. So I thought I would do this one. So I'm actually going to use my number 1 Derwent water brush, and I find that's the driest for me. If she can put a hand on it, I will be doing that. I do have lots of other brushes, and I will do another video about that because different brushes react different ways. Now I love my little tiny brushes, but water brushes, but they don't always go as dry as I want. And I've found, after many trial and errors, that's how it works. Now I normally have two watercolour brushes which have suddenly disappeared. Which is a bit ridiculous, but there we have it. I don't think they're in here, so I'm going to be in trouble now. I have so many watercolour brushes. They must be on the desk because they were on the... And I have 3 sets, but I can't find them. So that's very interesting. I'm sure they were, because I attached them to this with, now then, where is it? There is a headband, and I find that's the easiest thing, is the headband. I think it's because I was going to do something completely different today. So if I find my headband, I will find the water brushes. But I'm probably going to do a video on watercolour brushes because they are a bit of a minefield. And I just have no idea where they are at all. Hi Claire, welcome to Bunny's Designs. It's a bit of a mishmash today. Everything seems to be going wrong today. It's going to be one of those days, I'm afraid. It's not going to be a professional video today, if mine are ever. But watercolour brushes react completely differently all the time. And I had them attached to this morning. I just haven't seemed to get my I don't think I put them in my handbag because it's not something I would do. But I'll have a quick. I've definitely bobbed them somewhere. So I just, if I find my headband, I will find the brushes, because I keep the brushes tucked into here. But Ustream's kicked me off 3 times this morning, so it's been a bit of a drastic one. So apologies for the so it's going to be like that today, is it? Yeah, I don't have a water brush. And I have 3 of these water brushes, 3 sets. Gonna gumdrops. Right. Did you find them?
No.
Oh, that's fine. They're not there. I know they were here a minute ago. It's okay. It's just there are 2 in here, but they're not the ones I want. I have a 1 and a 2 here, but they are not the ones. So the gremlin's been and stolen them. Oh well. So I have a number 2, but I think it might be a bit big for this space. I can't see them being on the floor. Right, I'm just going to change and see if we can play with the watercolour brushes and see which is the best then. Because I've had these many years, and these went all across Europe. So this one is it says made in Japan, this one, but I'm not sure. It says it's a Kuretake, but it just says it's a push one. It doesn't have a number, but I never squeeze them. So we'll have a baby wipe, and I use a baby wipe in the lid because it will get wet, and my baby wipes last me for days and days and days because I use all my colour, hopefully goes on all my colour. So I'm going to try that one. That one should be the same, but I say I've had them a long time. This is a Pentel one. So we're going to play with them all. Me as well. This is a tiny one that came in a free set, and I can't remember where it came from. And then I have my Derwent number 2. I've got 2 3s there, you see. So I've got 3 sets somewhere, and that's the number 2. I don't think I need to play with that because I think it's the same. But this is the one I took round Europe when my daughter was about, she's 27, 28, so it's quite a long time. It's quite old, it's 20 odd years old, this one. And I took my little Neos, my original Neos, which were like this, not even covered. They were in a little tin. And I went round Europe with them. And that's all I had. So we'll have a bit of a play with those. But I wish I could find the number 1. But I know what it is. It's actually with the headband. I have a an elasticated headband, which is absolutely no use at all for my... Just let me get rid of that, sorry. Oopsie. Absolutely no use at all. For my hair, because it won't stay in. I just thought I'd put them in here, but obviously not. I'm bewildered where they have actually disappeared to. Unless I decided to put them... No, I didn't. How very odd. Things do get on the floor, but... Oh, apologies, can't find them anywhere. But never mind, we'll play with these. So we've got a Derwent number 2, which is obviously a lot bigger. Now I would think the Derwent is probably that one. The Derwent number 1. And the Derwent number 3 is a wedge, which obviously we don't want to use. But it would be most unfair to do a comparison if I don't have a number 1 paintbrush. Oh dear. It's rather silly, but there is absolutely no way. There's nowhere for them to fall or go. I cannot honestly believe I have just lost 2 water brushes. I have 2 and I can't find any. How strange is that? can't really, let's see, I can't do a comparison without the Derwent, because that's the one I use, so I've got to find the damn thing. Just not sure where I put them. How very odd. I knew it would be a funny day today. I just had a feeling it wasn't a bad day today. Right, I can't find these paintbrushes, but I just can't understand where they are because they put them on the desk this morning. I wonder if Alfie's knocked them down. Blame Alfie. Have you got them, Alfie? I'm looking for the original one that I can't find. I can't even find the original one, so it's ridiculous. Yep. Golly gumdrops. It's been a gremlin today. There has been a gremlin. I mean, it's just impossible to lose these because there's nothing much on my desk. They have to be on the floor then. Dear me. I can't do it without the... I can't do anything without that brush. Because it's the one I use, so you can't say, oh well, I would have used it if it was here. It just doesn't work like that. I'm going to have to destroy this pile of books and sort my desk out. But I had it in this morning and I opened it because I keep it. I was drawing with it yesterday. I did with the two things. That's how I used it. And I have a band round here with the two brushes on. So that's why I'm completely bewildered. Aha. We have a number one. There we go. It was in my handbag. I do keep it in my handbag. So I shall have to cut that bit out. So sorry guys, there we go, the number one brush. So that's what they all look like. So we've got a really cheap one, and I can't remember what that was in. It was in a set. Do we need a piece of white paper? So they're the differences. Oops, I've got a shadow now. but these are really old. I'm not sure it will go to a point. Oh, no, not quite a point, but it will. They've all got water in. They've all got water in. So I'll do a quick demo of the different brushes. Now that one's spilling. And put the end on that one. Oh dear me. Have a mouth of coffee, Heather, and calm down. Yes, Jane, they hide. I did look in my handbag first, because that's where I normally put things. But I still don't know where as I opened this morning on the, because this was in, I found this. I go around charity shops looking for leather handbags to cut up to make fake Midoris, and sometimes you can make some really nice bags. And I found this, which is I think it's a laptop bag. I think it's a laptop bag, but I thought it's got pockets, and I thought, oh, that'd be good. And you can also get a colour book in it. You can get the colour books in it, and I've got a sketchbook, and I've got my real Midori in there. And I thought, oh, that's got, and it's got a strap, and I thought actually that's going to be quite good for me to pop next to me everywhere I go. And that's what I took yesterday. So this square Pride and Prejudice was in there because I was using it in the car, and I coloured in, so I knew it was there. It's just it's just, where is it? So I'm going to put that back on the top of there because I need things a bit easier to use. So where was I before I was losing my marbles? To put those away. So I've got a little pot, and I use this water pot. It's a Elizabeth Arden face thing, so I use that as the water pot. And I normally have a bigger one than that, but I find if I want to be kind of fairly dry, that's the best. And I like pretty things now, so I've got my little inkwell. I usually use my little inkwell actually. And again, that's another one that I fill with water, and I put that into there, but I couldn't find my inkwell. So I use that with water. So there's not much water in there. But I'll use that today because I want to do some dip pen. That's why I've emptied that. I want to use it for some dip pen drawings. That's what I thought I would do. So this is a headband, but that's what I normally do, and that gives me a large and a small water brush. I do put the tops on, obviously, and I've got thousands of colours in there, and that goes in my handbag, and it can go with my fake baby Midori, which is here, and this matches my handbag leather. I just cut it and made it really fat so I can get sketchbooks, and at the moment it's got my jotters in. I'm using it for my one book ideas for my videos, because if I say I'm going to do something I forget, so it has to go in here, because some people ask to do things and I completely forget, so if I try to put it in there, so that's my kind of catch-all, but it's very scruffy writing. But this is what I use most of all. So this particular way of working is going to be with these. I can pop this to the side, although I say I do use it for reference. You know, so if I was looking at and the other thing I was using is the colour wheel. I found this colour wheel I bought for my daughter, and I've been using it so that if you have a red violet, so I've got like a purpley red, you want a different yellow. You don't want bright yellow, you want a green yellow. You want a yellow green, and it's going to give you a different grunge than a purple and a bright yellow. So this is quite good. So you can either draw your own, and I think I drew a really rough one with purple reds and red oranges and red greens and green reds and blue purples, and just to look at roughly, and you could sit this in here. So if you just forget, because sometimes I get purples and yellows and oranges mixed up. So orange is bright blue and bright orange, but if you have a yellow orange, you want a purpley blue. Well, the purpley blue that comes to mind is French ultramarine. So it's a bit oranger than a cad yellow. So again, we could look at our colours and think cad yellow is here. But if we go a step further, I would say that's orange. This is a yellow orange. It's halfway between. It's a tertiary. It's halfway between a yellow and an orange. So that would be quite good with a purple blue. And as I said, the purple blue I want is, that's royal blue. Royal blue is a strange one. It's not called, but I'm looking for my French ultramarine, which I don't know where it is. Maybe I don't have French ultramarine. So let me have a look in here to see what happens to my blues. So I've got a purple cobalt blue. But let's have a look at my blues, and I can't find them now. There's my purples. So here I don't have a purple blue then. I wondered where my blues were. So I do have a 640. It's just the ultramarine. It's a dark ultramarine 640. But let me have a look at. Then I've got ultramarine up there. So there's two. But I wanted to look for royal blue. And I can't find royal blue. Royal blue's there. Oh, so it is purpley. Yes, we're going for that one. It wouldn't be normally. Normally, royal blue is a bright blue. A royal blue is a bright. Is just what we would call blue. It's just a really bright blue. But for some reason, Caran have made it a purple blue. So that's your ultramarine. Now royal blue is normally colder than that, but because I can see it's purple blue, I'm going to put it with these together. So that would be my first ones. So I'm going to put that to one side. Let me make a little kind of a. See if I can make. I want to keep those handy. And I also want to keep this handy too. So I'll make a little stand for that so I can flick. Just to double check. So I'm using a colour wheel and I'm picking the complementary colours. And I'll show you what I'm doing and then I'll zoom in a bit. So I quite like this one. So what I normally do is scratch a little bit of colour. The highlight is obviously the palest, and then where there's some cross hatching, I don't want too much colour, I just want a little bit. So I've just really rough, sorry about the lighting, scratched a bit of colour. And I am going to be using the number 1 brush just because I know this works. So squeeze it to get water and then twist on a damp baby wipe. And then I'm going to manipulate, and that's probably a little bit wetter than I normally work, but it's a small space. So we've manipulated this orange colour, and then when you go with the purple, you've got a little bit of that orange on your brush. So what that's doing is it's immediately darkening down. Now there's a bit too much blue on there, so I'm actually going to take that off, because this is the technique that I've found I like. Dull the purple and then go over just once. And we need to dull that purple down a bit. And what that's done is it's given us a grunge. It's given us a complementary colour. And if you want to make a darker purple, a shadow, whatever colour purple you have, add yellow to it, because that will dull it down. If you have a yellow and you want to make a shadow, add purple to it, just a touch, and that's going to give you 2 grayscales, which is what we've got. But don't add Payne's grey or black. If you want a shadow or you want a darker shade, add its complementary colour. And if you mix them both together perfectly, you'll end up with a grey, and that's what was on the that's what's there, is grey. So you've seen how I've set up. I've got a colour wheel, I've got a scale of colours, I've got my colours, and I've got my paper, I've got a damp baby wipe, and I've got my number 1 Derwent watercolour brush, because I find that goes the driest. And then I'm going to zoom in now. In fact, I'm actually going to I'll move the camera down and then I'll zoom in, because that makes it so much easier. And then you'll be able to see, sorry about the jump, exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to put these to the side. I'm going to put a piece of paper over this image because I don't want to get it damaged. And when you're messing about with crayons, you can sometimes do that, because I've got to move this up. So I'm going to zoom in, and you should be able to see. And I did test it earlier, so it should be in focus. So that's what we've ended up with, and yet we started with 2 bright colours. So I'm going to leave those out because I kind of like those 2 colours. So we're going to try something else. So hopefully this isn't too bad. So we've got that was our blue violet and our blue violet and yellow orange. So we now need a bright orange and a bright blue. So I like a bright blue, I think would be the sapphire blue, or what's this one? This is gentian blue. That's quite a nice blue, that one. We'll have that one, and then we want a bright orange, and a bright orange is going to be flame red, I think, is a rouge orange. I think I kind of like that one. So we'll pick a pipe and do this one here. So we're going to do this pipe. So what we need to do, and if you look at the differences, That's the difference. So that was a lighter orange with a purplier blue, but now we've got a proper true orange and a true blue, as you could call it, what you would think. So I'm going to put a little bit here, and you don't need very much, and a little bit of blue. And normally that's the wrong way around for a highlight, but so again, you don't need very much. Oops, the baby wipe is cleaned and twisted to a point. Is your brush, and the number one, I find, if you look at it now, it's just barely. So what happens is you make that into a yellow, an orange, and then you manipulate the green, but you've got, it's dulled the blue down with the orange. Now what you do have to do is to clean that off, because you're going to go back into your bright orange again, and if you've got anything on there it will change. So with bright orange, which will dull the green, and then once over there. The same with this. Oops, sorry, trying to think into there. So activate that orange, and of course, because it's now you do have to do this, I think, with solid colour, whether it be a pencil or a crayon. I don't think it will work with watercolour because they'll mix too much, and your brush will have too much on it. Remember, there's only a touch of colour on here. So I'm going to take a little bit of that blue off, pick the blue up and dull that orange. But what I am going to do now is clean brush, touch that orange, and this is how wonderful these Neos are. I've got bright orange on there now. I'm going to just run that over the top of that blue. Now because it's nearly a yellow, it's going a bit green. But when you compare it to what it was, they are now grunge. And I kind of like that for pipes. So we'll put those two, I'm going to put them over there. So I don't, right, so now we want a purple and a bright yellow. So a purple, if I look on my purples, they are near my pinks. So I would say a purple is this one. There is a cobalt violet. Actually, I quite like the cobalt violet, so that's 620. So let me find my cobalt violet, and all these are numbered. I have a violet actually, which is violet. Violet is that one. That's that one. I like the cobalt violet, but I can't find it now, so we'll go with the violet. So we've got what we traditionally call a purple, and then I want a bright yellow, so I'm going for canary yellow. So pick a pipe. I'm going to do this one if I can keep it in frame. So we pick a pipe and we want yellow on top. And of course these Neos are really easy to use, even with poly hands. You're just scratching a little bit of colour, and then we want a little bit of a purple. And because they literally melt, it doesn't matter that you've got a line. So again, squeeze the brush, twist so it's barely damp, and then we'll do sections at a time. Manipulate that yellow, and then that yellow dulls the purple, and then the purple grunges up. So you've lost that vivid colour, and again you've got to clean your brush. So we've got yellow, and we're grunging up that purple, and then a bit of a grunge on there. And you don't want to do it too many times because you'll end up with a grey scale. So purple, and then we can do that with it. And then we've got yellow there, and manipulate the purple, which is dulled, and then that will dull the yellow. And that's given us another grunge. So again, you can see how bright they are, and then you can see how grungy they are. So if I turn that one over, so we've got a bright purple, so we've got this bright yellow, which is nowhere near there. Clean that, and we've got the purple. But when you put the two together, they grunge up. Now if you keep going, you'll end up with a beautiful purple grayscale. And you can use these for your greys. That's how you make greys, mixing complementary colours. So we can put those two down and we'll have a look at another one. So we've got red and green. So if we look, our brightest green was probably this one, which is, I think that's the emerald. Empire green is very bright. And we want a reddy red, so we've either got scarlet. I haven't got a cad. Is that a cad? There's a ruby red. Ruby red looks quite nice. I'm going for that one. So again, and this is just what I made up last week. It's not anything set in stone. Whoopsie, sorry, I'm trying to find that one. There. So the highlight will be the red. It doesn't have to be, but the highlight is the red, and the green. Oops, the green is underneath. And if you're not sure, use the sharp edge at that side, and that will give you a nice clean edge, and you know you're not going to go over. If you want it more reddy than greeny, then you want more red. I think I've got more green, but so we stimulate that red, make that lovely bright red, touch that green, and then move it across. Activate that gorgeous red, dull down that green, and move it across. And you're never probably going to get the same colour twice. You see, that's got too grungy, but it's grunged up that green. If you want more, just touch the end, pick up some red, and go over that green, or grunge it up more. And there's quite a long pipe that goes round there. Oops, oopsie, that was wet. Let me see if I can get rid of some of that now. That was silly. Never mind. I wasn't watching the page, I was watching the camera. I was watching the screen rather. So put that red and green there, so that's another two colours we've got. And let's have a look at our colour wheel. We have the next one is a red orange. So I haven't done a pinky red, so I think I'm going to do, if I do a pinky red, or a red orange and a blue green is a greenish blue. Is this? I think there is a bluish green actually, isn't there? But we'll go for that one, and I'm going to do, that's carmine, is it? Carmine. So I've got now this is the opposite way really. This is the opposite red, which is here, not here. So that opposite red really needs a yellow green. So I'm going to put that back. I'm going to do that one with that one, and I'm going to do vermilion. Is that vermilion? Vermilion with that one, because that's an orangey red. So I've changed my mind. I've gone for a bright green, which is a paler green, a yellow green, and I've got carmine. So let me have a look at that one. there's this one here. So let's have a look at this one. So we've got the red, and then we've got green, and you can do it in sections. I think the other one I did in sections actually, so it wasn't like it was in sections. So activate the red first, oopsie, and then touch the green, and you'll see they grunge each other up quite nicely. And they are definitely not these bright colours. And then we've got a green and an orange. So this is a turquoisey green, this is a blue green, and this is vermilion. So the other one is bluish green. And so I'm going to do that one here. So I'm going to have to move everything so we can get to this one here, this big one. So we've got kind of a reddish green, a reddish orange, and then we've got green there, but it's a turquoisey green. So you can play about with the reds and the pinky reds and the orangey reds, and you can play about with the greens, the grungy greens, turquoisey greens. You've just got to remember that you really need the bright orange first, the bright red first, and then when you come down to grunge, because if you mix too much you'll end up with a grey, and I kind of like the idea of having different colours. If you mix too much you will come out with a really nice grey and a very unusual grey. So this is a grey green. If you had slightly more red it would be a red grey. So I've got this one here, so I'm going to pick some more colours. So the next one is we've done bright blue and bright orange, so we've got a red violet and a green. I thought I had a red violet, a red and a yellow green. I've done that one, and then we've got the red, and then we've got the red orange, and we've got blue and orange. So we've actually got that. So we've got we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6. So we're having 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yep. So we've got 6 pairs of complementary colours. So all these colours can go away now because we don't really need them. We can play with them if we want. We can change them. But I have now here the colours that I want. I've got the colours that I want, and they're complementary colours. And as I say, you can change them. You can make I did that before, I can't remember what I use now. We've got an olive green. So if you look at the colour wheel for olive green would probably be here somewhere. So I need a reddy purple, so I kind of like that one. And I think I've got carmine. What's that one? That one is Indian red. That might be a bit too dark actually. I'll try the ruby red. We'll try these 2 colours. So you can pick any green and any red and have a play. So we'll do that little tiny one there just in case it's not particularly very good. So we want, and again, if you've got a dull edge, use the corner. Got a bit of grey there. And then make sure that your brush is clean. activate that really nice pinky green and then dull it down with the green. And you've got a grunge, which is a different grunge to that red and green. What other colours do I quite like? This is another green. This one is 710, and I shall do that one with scarlet. I apologise for moving the page, it's just easier to move the page. So activate that gorgeous red and then take the red into that green, but the green is stronger, so we need to take that off, and then we can activate that red and dull down the green. And if you find that you might want a little bit more, just touch that red, not much, and it will dull it for you. So I've got another different grunge. I haven't got the brightest of yellows, as in a really bright yellow. And I haven't got a cadmium yellow either, so let's do a cadmium red, and what's that one? That's ultramarine, so it's a blue, so that might work quite well. So you can play with different yellows, mix and match them up, and then you find some you like and some you don't like. So now this should make a green, but look at the green. Look what happens to that green. It's a grunge green. So you don't have to stick with complementary colours for this, but you'll get a dull green, because we've used, if you want a bright green, you need where is it? If you want a bright green, here you want the bright yellow, and the bright blue makes the bright green. But I've used a golden yellow, so I've used a warmer yellow, and I've used a purpley pink, sorry, a purpley blue. So they're further away, so they've given me a grungy green, a dark green, not a bright green. And I think I might have, now I'm trying to keep them in actual colour order so that I don't have to rejiggle them every time. So I'm going to try this purple and this one. So this is the same yellow as here. Oopsie, sorry. So it's the same yellow, but it gets dulled down, but it's exactly the same yellow, but it's gone, that's the complementary colour. I've just smudged that one as well, complementary colour. So I'm actually going to leave these out of the way now, because I'm not going to play with any others. I don't think I'm going to play with any other colours. I think I've got the colours that I want. So even though you just had a set of a few bright colours, you can then make all the other colours. So I'm going to do this pipe going up here. I'm going to do that with, I think I'll do it with that orange and red. I'm going to swish reds around a bit. So we want red there, and then I'm going to put this different green here, and by doing that it's going to completely change what happens. So it's a pinky red and it's going to go purple because there's that blue in that green. So you end up with some gorgeous colours, but they're grunged up. And if you took that colour, you've got a blue-grey. Got a warm purpley blue-grey. Just by mixing those two red colours together. That was what was left on the brush. And if I do that here, you can see you get some 6 or 7 different colours, but completely mix them together and you end up with a blue-green grey. So you can have some fantastic greys. So if I move that gently around there, this is going to be I think it's going to be a yellow. Oh, I've had a yellow. What about going to pick a different orange and blue this time. So we're having a typical orange, and pop that in there. See if I can squidge this on one page. So activate that bright orange, and we've actually made a turquoisey green. So again, by doing this, you know how to make all those gorgeous greens. If you've just got blue and oranges, you can still get a turquoise. You don't have to buy a turquoise because you can make it. And you'll see just a lot more than just 2 colours, because I've probably put a little bit more blue on one section than I did on the other. Now this is normally 50-50, so we'll see what happens. Now I must have a little bit of blue in there because it's kind of, so it's dulled that blue down, and then we just take that up to knock that orange down. And if you keep going, you'll end up with a grey-green. So you've got some gorgeous greys. So I should be putting these in my little book of reference colours, because this is really like colour mixing. So I've made a turquoise colour with an orange and a blue. So I don't need to buy a turquoise. And then I've made some kind of really grungy colours as well. So we'll have, I think I might do this in actual different colours as in long ways. Now you can put another colour in there if you want. Don't think I want to, but I did on the other one. So you mix that together, and then you can mix that like that. And the skull, I've no idea what I'm going to do with the skull. I don't know if I fancy doing it browns and reds. So I'll pan out and you can see how far we've got, and you can see what colours we've been using. So you see how the colours are completely different to the colours we've actually been using here. Oops, there we go. And that makes grungy colours. So eventually it should look like, it should go a bit like this one. Really, really grungy colours. But you're making hundreds of greens. But they're bright, but they're grunged up a bit because it's making the dull colours. So thank you for watching.